Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're looking at something pretty serious incidents at sea involving some very expensive, very high-tech military jets. We've got reports on the recent loss of a U.S. Navy F-18 Super Hornet. This is off the USS Harry S. Truman in the Red Sea. I'm talking, what, a $60 million aircraft?
Well,
Gone.
yeah, $60 million. And it immediately makes you think of that other incident, doesn't it?
Exactly, the British F-35B.
Right, back in November 2021, that one went off HMS Queen Elizabeth in the Med. And that was even pricier, closer to $100 million.
Wow. So these aren't just like isolated flukes then?
Doesn't seem like it. They really, they shine a light on the risks, the inherent dangers of operating these kinds of advanced planes from carrier.
Okay. So our mission today, let's unpack these two events, try to figure out what went wrong, what the implications are.
And we're mainly using reports from the Eurasian Times for this discussion, just so you know where the info's coming from.
Got it. Okay, let's start with the U.S. Navy one. The Super Hornet, Red Sea, USS Harry S. Truman. Initial reports, they suggested it went overboard during an evasive move. Something about Houthi fire.
Yeah, that was the first story floating around. Sounded like, combat-related, very dramatic.
But that wasn't quite it.
Well, the U.S. Navy came out with a statement later, clarified things. They said the FA-18E, it was actually being towed in the hangar bay.
In the hangar? Not even on the flight deck?
Apparently not. Control was lost during the tow, and, well, both the jet and the tow tractor went over the side.
Okay, so less combat loss, more operational accident. During handling.
Exactly. Still a very, very expensive accident, mind you, but a different cause than first thought.
Right. And I assume there's an investigation digging into how they lost control during a tow.
Oh, definitely. That's underway. The Navy was also, very quick to say the air wing is still fully mission capable.
Which you'd expect them to say. Right. Got a project strength. But losing a Super Hornet.
Yeah.
That's got to put a strain on things. Maintaining that fully mission-capable status.
No doubt. It takes effort. I'm thinking about the ship itself, the Truman. It's a Nimitz-class carrier, nuclear-powered, huge.
And they use those zigzag tactics, don't they, to avoid missiles?
They do, especially in contested waters like the Red Sea. It makes it harder for anyone trying to target them. Unpredictable movements.
And the Eurasian Times piece mentioned the Trumans had kind of a rough time recently in that area.
It seems so. The reports talk about repeated run-ins with Houthi forces, Iran-backed Houthi forces.
Okay.
And then there was apparently a collision with a merchant ship near Egypt back in February 2025.
Wow. Okay.
And even a friendly fire incident. December 2024, another FA-18 from the Truman was hit by the USS Gettysburg.
Friendly fire. Good grief. Were the pilots okay in that one?
Yeah, thankfully both pilots ejected safely in that earlier incident. But it paints a picture, doesn't it?
It does. A very high-pressure, complex environment for that carrier group. So this latest FA-18 loss kind of fits into a pattern of incidents.
It does suggest a high operational tempo and significant risks in that theater. Okay, so let's pivot now. Let's talk about the British F-35B. Mediterranean, November 21. Different circumstances here.
Yeah, totally different. This one, the F-35B, it just rolled off the launch ramp.
Yeah.
The ski jump on HMS Queen Elizabeth didn't even get airborne.
Right. And the initial theories were, well, kind of all over the place. One was about a plastic rain cover.
A rain cover. Getting sucked into the engine.
That was one of the early suggestions, yeah, causing a catastrophic failure right at takeoff.
But the big deal here, aside from losing a $100 million jet, was the technology, right?
Yeah.
The F-35 is packed with secret stuff.
Oh, absolutely. That was the immediate panic. This is a stealth jet, top secret radars, sensors, you name it. The absolute last thing the UK or the US wanted was for that wreckage to end up in the wrong hands.
And wrong hands specifically mean?
Well, the reports mention Russia specifically. Russian planes had been shadowing the Queen Elizabeth carrier group. And Russia has, deep diving subs and that salvage ship, the Yantar. The concern was they might try to get to it first.
So it became a race against time. Geopolitical stakes, suddenly.
Huge stakes, which explains the massive recovery effort that followed.
Okay, walk us through that. The pilots got out okay.
Yes, both ejected safely, thankfully. The reports say the jet actually floated for a bit.
Really? An F-35?
Apparently, briefly, before sinking. And it went deep, over 6,500 feet down.
Wow. And it was mostly intact?
Largely intact, yeah, but upside down on the seabed. Some smaller bits, like the ejection seat, had broken off.
So how do you even start recovering something like that from over a mile down?
Well, it wasn't easy. And it involved international help. The UK actually asked the US for assistance,
Okay.
which tells you how specialized this kind of deep-sea salvage is.
Mhm.
The US Navy brought in equipment from Spain, including the towed pinger locator 25,
Yeah.
the TPL 25.
Ah, the thing that listens for the locator beacon on the plane.
Exactly. Except there was a problem there, too.
What happened?
They couldn't detect the pinger. The sonar locator beacon on the jet itself, it seems it wasn't working, or at least they couldn't pick it up initially.
Seriously. The one thing designed to help find it.
Yeah. Added another layer of difficulty. The whole recovery took time. About 2 weeks just to locate the main wreckage.
2 weeks.
And then another week to actually lift it to the surface.
What kind of gear did they use for the lift?
A whole range of things. Chartered ships, ROVs, remotely operated vehicles, divers, even mini-subs apparently, and huge inflatable bags to provide buoyancy.
Quite the operation. And they got it back.
They did. Transported it to an Allied port, then airlifted back to the UK for the investigation.
Okay, so after all that drama, the race against Russia, the deep-sea tech, what was the cause? Did they ever figure it out?
They did. The investigation took about 10 months. And the cause was, well, almost embarrassingly simple.
Don't tell me it was the rain cover.
It was basically the rain cover. A single engine intake blank is the official term. The crew hadn't removed it before takeoff.
No way.
Yes way. It blocked the airflow to the engine. So after all the fears about sophisticated failures or sabotage, it was a pre-flight check error. Human error.
Unbelievable. $100 million jet lost? A massive international recovery effort? Because someone forgot to take off a cover.
It's a stark reminder, isn't it? Even with the most advanced tech, the basics, the procedures, human factors, they're still absolutely critical.
And the report mentioned the context too, right?
Yep.
HMS Elizabeth was coming home after a long deployment.
Yeah, a 7-month maiden voyage to the Far East involved some hide and seek with the Chinese Navy, harassment from Russian aircraft. So the crew might have been fatigued, maybe? Though the investigation pinpointed that specific procedural lapse.
Okay, so let's put these side by side. The Super Hornet and the F-35B, both very advanced jets lost at sea, but very different immediate causes, it seems.
Very different. One looks like an accident during handling, maybe in a high-pressure operational zone. The other, a clear pre-flight procedural error, but with huge potential strategic fallout because of the tech involved.
And the costs, $60 million, $100 million, that's not trivial.
Not at all. Significant financial hits. And the F-35 incident especially, it really highlights the vulnerability when you deploy this kind of super sensitive tech.
And the need for allies to help out in recovery. That U.S. involvement was key.
Absolutely. It showed the importance of international cooperation for these complex deep-sea operations. Both cases really stressed the need for thorough investigations, too. Got to learn from these.
Right, prevent them happening again. The logistics of just getting the wreckage back are immense.
And immense. So yeah, different causes, but both incidents really throw a spotlight on, well, the challenges of modern naval aviation. It's this tricky balance, isn't it? Cutting-edge machines, but still reliant on people and procedures, sometimes under intense pressure.
Yeah, whether it's pressure from potential enemies or just the pressure of routine checks, it suggests maybe training and safety protocols need constant updating with this complex gear.
Constantly. You can't afford not to.
Okay, so just to recap, we looked at the U.S. Navy FA-18 loss, likely a handling accident, and the British F-35B loss, a pre-flight error with big security worries, huge costs, complex recoveries, important lessons there.
Definitely. And maybe this leaves you, the listener, with something to chew on, especially if you're following global security issues.
Go on.
Well, think about it. We're putting more and more of this incredibly advanced, expensive military tech out onto the oceans. What are the wider implications of creating strategic, economic, when things like this happen? How might these incidents actually change the way navies operate or train or even design this equipment in the future?
That's a really good question. Lots to consider there. Thanks for breaking all that down.
My pleasure.
And for all of you listening, especially if you're preparing for exams like the UPSC and keeping up with daily current affairs, these kinds of events are really worth understanding. They touch on military tech, safety, geopolitics, international cooperation, lots of relevant angles. So if you found this deep dive useful, please do hit like, subscribe to the channel, and maybe drop a comment if you have more questions or thoughts on this.
We love to hear them.
And just a reminder, the information we discussed today was drawn from reports published in the Eurasian Times. Thanks for tuning in.